Hi everyone, welcome to a new episode of Women of Community Banking podcast, a much anticipated episode because I've been in touch with Dana for more than a year and finally we could invite her and find time in our calendar to do this episode. So Dana, firstly, thank you for taking your time out to do this with us. Appreciate it.
It's my pleasure, and I knew it would happen at some point. So here we are.
Exactly. We also knew that it will happen at some point of time, so finally it's happening. Uh, I mean, a fellow New Yorker. That's the highlight. A fellow New Yorker. We met a year back. Instant connection. Uh, Quick introduction. Who Dana is, again, based in New York. She's chief operating officer of a very interesting financial institution, BHI, Israel-based parent entity, setting up a shop in the US, commercial bank right now. So Dana has close to 2.5 decades in financial services, spent the first almost 15 years with Morgan Stanley, then moving around with regional banks, Citizens Bank. She spent some time, a couple of fintechs, and then finally took up this role at BHI last year, same time. So Dana, firstly, congratulations on your new role. I mean, you're completing a year. I think you just completed a year.
Yeah, I know. My anniversary. I know. It's amazing. But time flies.
Time flies, absolutely. Time flies. So that's pretty much who Dana is. Obviously, I do half baked job while introducing people. So Dana, if you want to talk about a bit more, I mean, please feel free.
Sure. I mean, so first of all, again, thank you so much for having me. I always tell when people ask me about my career path and how I started, I always love to tell people that it was never my intention to be in banking. When I graduated from college, I was a math major. I interviewed for actuarial jobs. I actually interviewed as a sales assistant at a major fashion magazine. So when I tell you that I had absolutely no vision of ever being in financial services, like that's just an example. I was circling jobs in the back of the New York Times. I was living at my parents' house. I couldn't wait to get out. And I found this job at Morgan Stanley, and I said, you know what, why not? Right? It'll give me the ability to move out, get my own place. That's really the only thing that I had to focus on. And yet I stayed there for over 15 years. Um, I loved my experience there. I had a million different jobs there. It was an incredible opportunity, but it gave me a launch pad, and that was the biggest thing. It gave me the launch pad to kind of go off and do these other things. I've been at a lot of smaller institutions since then, not small, but smaller. So everything from, Bank Leumi, another commercial bank, Citizens Bank, like a major player in the regional bank space. As you mentioned, a Bitcoin startup, which was another cool experience, maybe a whole other topic for a podcast. And now at BHI. I mean, I've seen a lot of things, good, bad, otherwise, but everything, as I always say, is an experience. So a lot of things in the banking world.
Yeah, I mean, that's what happens to all of us, right? I don't think people plan to become bankers. I mean, we just end up becoming bankers after our school or our MBAs, right? I mean, it just happens to us. But yeah, it's a very inspiring journey, then I would say for sure. Uh, let's talk about some priorities, right? So obviously you moved to this bank a year back. Uh, every new place has newer nuances. So if you were to talk about maybe the top one or two priorities that matters the most for BHI right now, what would they be?
There's no way that we could ever whittle this down to one or two. We have thousands of priorities, which doesn't really make it a priority, by the way, but there's always a lot of things to do. What I would say, in terms from a bank perspective, and this is not unique to BHI, but every bank right now is trying to adopt technology. And what does that mean, right? I mean, technology is moving at the speed of light. Everybody is talking about AI. Is everybody really using AI? Are we ready for AI? I mean, that's a whole other, that's also a bigger conversation. But I would say technology as a whole, and that shouldn't be a surprise to everybody. Everybody is trying to leverage technology to the best of their ability, to do it in a way that the regulators are going to be comfortable with, and in a way also that you can bring your employees along with you. The idea is, and we'll talk a little bit, I'm sure, about this later, but the idea is to not alienate or get rid of your staff, right? I mean, I don't want to walk into an office tomorrow and have a desk like rows of desks of robots, right? I want people. We need people, but how can we bring those people into the 21st century and really make sure that we're leveraging technology to the best of our ability. For me, and technology, what I would say is the tool. That's how you do it. But when you take it up a level, like really, what's the priority? The priority is the client, right? And one of the things that we talk about, or I talk about a lot, is that I would love to tell you that I'm going to give you some incredible innovation in banking. Like I have some idea that nobody's ever done before. And the truth is that not only does that not exist for me right now or for anybody, but I don't think the regulators would really like it. That's not a thing. And so how do you differentiate your bank, your commercial bank, your retail bank, your regional bank? It's all about the customer. How can you provide the best experience for the customer possible? And that doesn't always mean that you're bringing in only technology and they only talk to a robot. It also doesn't mean that they have to get a human being every single time, right? There's some happy balance there. And there's lots of clients who want to operate different ways. So it's really tuning into what your client is looking for and then being able to provide that. That's the differentiator. So again, not unique to BHI, but to me, that's the way, that's how the financial institutions and any company at this point, unless you're coming up with something that's super innovative that nobody's ever done, it's about how do you cater to the clients and really provide the best experience for them.
Yeah, I think that's a very well-rounded answer, that you cannot have one or two priorities, but there are like thousands of them. And I absolutely agree to it. In terms of decisions, right? Let's talk about your. I mean, we'll just switch work and your personal career, right? So let's just talk about the next question about your career. Are there any bunch of decisions or one decision, two decision, whatever, right, that have had a significant impact on your career so far?
Oh my God. Like, I mean, how much time do we have? I mean, I'm not sure that
Yeah,
there's
all the time. Talk about.
you know, personally speaking, I'll start with that. Personally speaking, the decision to leave a large global investment bank and go to a much smaller institution was a major turning point in my career. And it only took me a couple years to even get comfortable with that and really come to terms with that was something that I wanted to do. But it was a huge turning point for me. And the reason for that is because look, over time, and I'm not saying that this happens when you graduate from college and you start your first job. I mean, it took me almost 15, 16 years to get to that point. But I got to a point where I said, you know what, I have a much better vision of not just who I want to be and where I want to be in my career, but the impact that I want to make, where I feel like, more importantly, I can fit in and I'll be valuable. And for me, that was going to a smaller organization where not only could I grow as a person, where I could see kind of a lot more of the front to back operation of the bank, but that I could have more of an impact on the people, on the strategy. I could learn all of that. So that was a huge turning point in my career. And you'll see, obviously, with the experience that I've had since then, I've really stuck with not 80,000 person global organizations, right? I mean, I've stayed in more regional, kind of smaller organizations because that's where I feel, for me, I fit in and I like to do that work. But that was a big turning point for me, and that was a really big decision for me. From a business standpoint, I think anytime, and it's hard to put my finger on one, but anytime you make a decision that you're going to, so what the other thing that I would say is that from a technology standpoint, from a business standpoint, one of the big, and I can't narrow it down to just one thing, but really in terms of making a decision, any decision you make from a technology standpoint, to buy something new, to upgrade, to change the way that you're doing something, every one of those decisions are pivotal decisions. And if I could read the future, if I could tell you the future, I'd be a very successful lady, but nobody can do that. And so that those are always big turning points. And it doesn't mean that it always has to be the best. You're like, oh my gosh, this is the most successful thing we've ever done in our lives. Sometimes those things fail, but all of those things are pivotal decisions because you learn from them, right? And I've learned from a lot of things, I hate to say. So that would be, I would say, from that perspective, those are always things that are really pivotal.
Sounds good. Uh, let's talk about balance, right? I mean, by the way, I'm horrible in maintaining balances because I'm a very unidirectional person. If I do something, I'll put my heart and soul. Otherwise, I won't do it. Right? So balance is a myth for me, but still, I assume that around me are not like that. People are better in doing balancing. So my question is, how do you balance speed and innovation? Because uh, essentially, technologists can go crazy about doing tech, right, without looking at the business impact. On the other side, legacy systems or legacy organizations or equipments can slow down the entire innovation. So it's not easy. And you run operations. That's one of the most difficult areas in the business, right? So how do you balance between risk and innovation? I mean, basically speed and innovation.
So first of all, this word balance, I don't understand what you're talking. No, I'm just kidding. But this is also not a place for me where I'm an expert, and I don't know that I'm equipped to answer this question.
Yep.
But
Yep.
but what I would tell you is that if left to my own, right? If I were by myself, if I was in a bubble, whatever, what I would tell you is that I would be moving at 800 miles an hour. I would be a bull in a china shop, and I would just be like this, okay? And it has taken me personally a lot to say, okay, be a little patient, rein it in. I'm not good at it, by the way. I'm still not good at it. I still learn and I still try to have to rein myself in. But one of the things, and I by the way, I tell myself this all the time. I want to move at a million miles an hour. I want to get this stuff done because I'm a nerd like that. I'm excited about these things. But you will never be successful unless you have adoption of what you're trying to do. And that's
Sure.
adoption from your senior management, it's your colleagues, it's your employees, it's your clients, it's the industry. If you don't have adoption in a way that is going to make sure that when you push forward with something, anything, it doesn't matter what it is, or buy-in, you will never be successful. And it doesn't matter how cool it is or interesting it is. So I try to remind myself that even though you may have the best idea, you can see it so clearly, you know exactly what needs to happen. You have to make sure that you've got that buy-in and that there's comfort at every level, because once you then implement, it's a slam dunk, right? There's no question, everybody's on board. So that's what I would equate to balance. I'm not saying I still don't want to keep going, right? I mean, I want to push people out of their comfort zone, because if we don't do anything and we don't push that, we'll be, faxing things still, and I don't know. I'm trying to think of things that, printing out things and then scanning them back in, like all the things that people still do sometimes. We do actually, like, there is like in one of our storage rooms, I saw a fax machine and I was kind
Are
of
you serious?
laughing. I was like, can we just throw this out? Like very old,
Yeah. Yeah.
office space
Yeah.
style, just take it out into the parking lot and smash it. But anyway, yeah. But it, even for something like that, and anybody, just as a side note, anybody who's worked in the loan space, in the institutional loan space, especially in the trading world, knows that it wasn't that long ago that we were faxing confirms to each other. So it takes people time to really get comfortable with, guys, we really don't have to use the fax machine. There's better ways. So adoption is a big part of that.
Yeah, I'm sure that there are better ways, I'm sure.
Yeah. Well, you look back on that now and you're like, wow,
I'm
but
like,
at the
oh,
time seemed like a good idea.
uh, I mean, I'm a data nerd. I mean, I do analytics for a living. So I'll ask you questions about data, and I ask this to everyone. People hate me for that at times, but still. So how do you think data and AI will play a role next year for BHI?
Um, well, data plays a role. It's not even it's happening, right? So data,
Yeah.
from a
Yep.
data perspective, and that's a constant evolution, right? Like, I mean, that's the kind of thing where you think you got it right, and then there's like some new need, or you see something a different way. And look, one of the challenges at any company is that the people who are putting in the data, right, who are
Yep.
maintaining the data, are not always the people who are using the data. And so
No,
making you sure you
always.
have that communication between the two groups sounds obvious, but doesn't always happen. So there's a lot more of that happening. We're making sure that people understand that having granular data, even though at the time may be somewhat like, it's not the most fun exercise, but your future self will thank you because we'll have all the data that we need. I think the AI conversation, man, I mean, I get this question all the time from everybody you can think of. AI is here. If you think for 1 second that I don't ask ChatGPT every question I can think of, or, help it draft emails for me, I mean, I do. But I think that the comfort level that not just the banks, but any financial institution or any regulated organization has with feeding a model like this or feeding a third party like this type of intimate data, and then having it use it that way, unfortunately, is not there yet. And I think we actually have maybe not a long way to go, but like there's still work to be done to get every piece of the puzzle comfortable with using AI for things that are, maybe for more simple things, maybe for like, um, give me a recipe for banana bread, right? Like that's like what I'm using it for, things like that. But to have it do more complex things, and again, there's obviously there's places that are using it very heavily, but in a regulated area like banking, there is a lot of apprehension to really using this in a very, very deep way to make credit decisions, things like that.
Yeah.
There's also a lot of concern, and again, there's definitely people using chatbots and things like that. But if you have a small organization with, that prides itself, again, going back to the customer service experience, the customer experience, that prides itself on their white glove service, wants our client to speak to a human, people are nervous about using a bot, right? I don't know. It's
Yeah.
not always something that people are excited to do. They want to talk to a
Yeah.
human. So I think that, listen, it's not going away. We all have to accept it. It is something that we need to accept and move forward, and we won't be left behind if you don't use it. But there is a lot of things, a lot of whole gaps we need to fill first before I think it's like a full scale adoption across the board.
I think that's true, right? I mean, the difference that I see, Dana, is since I'm a data scientist myself, right? So my job was not cool 10 years back, but now suddenly it's become very cool. Like, that's the difference. We were known as geeky nerdy kids. So exposure to AI was almost zero. In 2015, when I started after my engineering days, we were writing Python codes and R codes, building models. People were like, "What are you exactly doing?" But but when OpenAI came up with ChatGPT, I think people got exposed towards the real implementations of AI. I would say more B2C implementations of AI, right? Not just we implementing for B2B firms and driving impact. So I would call more of a citizen data scientist is what people became. Not data scientist, citizen user of data, what people became, started tapping onto chatbots for anything under the sun, right? From booking your next pizza to house cleaning to even decide or take career decisions. What should I do? So I think that's the difference that has happened. But yeah, I mean, I get your point completely.
There is so much value, and especially like if you're thinking about a place like, and again, this is any company, people are protective of their data, but if you're thinking about a secure kind of like in-house
Yeah,
solution where, you're obviously not going out to the world to pull data or feed data, it's wholly, enclosed within your data. That's really where the next step is going to be, right? And that then, you're able to leverage your data, you're able to use the tool, you can make decisions a lot faster, you can
yeah,
find issues or anomalies a lot faster, and then you can use it. That's going to be the next step for sure. I'm excited about it because when we talk about, especially within operations, I mean, my team is the one who is putting that data in the system. I mean, they're doing a million other things, but that's part of
yeah,
their job. And
yeah,
so for us to be able to kind of do that quick analysis in a matter of minutes to say, hey, like, give me some examples of anomalies, or like, does this make sense, or whatever it is so valuable. I mean, it just is something that we wouldn't be able to do in a week, let alone maybe ever, because we wouldn't, you're using your human eyes and your human brain. So I'm excited about it. I think it's going to revolutionize. It's already revolutionized our world. It's definitely going to revolutionize operations. But the part that I'm excited about is that it's not necessarily, people think it's going to take everybody's jobs and I'm going to have these robot colleagues. But what I'm excited about is my employees who are going to learn and become essentially technologists, right? Where they never thought that they
Sure.
would be before. They're going to.
I'm sure, absolutely. So then one last question in the interest of time. I know you've got a hard stop. Uh, if you were to share some pieces of advice for aspiring women leaders, what could they be?
Again, we need like 3 hours for this question.
Let's try to wrap it in 3 minutes. Let's try.
It's I'll share something that I had a conversation with one of my colleagues, yeah, actually yesterday. And it's hard to narrow it down. There's a lot of things that I would say, but one of the things that I think is really, really relevant is making sure that you find your home, right? And making sure that from a career standpoint, that you find the place where not only do you feel that you're at home, but you feel accepted by the people who are there. And what I mean by that, and by the way, again, this is not something that you figure out, on day
Yeah,
one of your first job.
yeah.
And it takes some time to figure out, but there's been a lot of experiences that I've had, good, bad, or otherwise, where
Mhm.
I felt like I really needed to, I don't know, kind of change who I am, right? Change my
Yeah, yeah.
style, change who I am, change my approach, change the way I look, whatever it is. I've been told I have to straighten my hair. Like, I mean, I've been told a lot of different things, and that's minor compared to some of the other stuff. But the truth is that when you start to know yourself and you start to kind of learn about yourself as a leader, where you thrive the most, where you don't
Mhm.
thrive,
Yeah,
who you want to be as a leader or just an employee, if you just want to, if you're not looking to manage, really, it's about finding like the way that you would find a partner or a group of friends
yeah,
or a club or something like that.
yeah,
That's how you've got to kind of look at your workplace. Not every place is going to be a place that loves you and thinks you're the best. And you might be the best and you might be awesome, but you have to find kind of that place that fits your personality, that you feel at home, and really, most importantly, that you feel like you can be your authentic self. Again, that doesn't happen on day one. It takes time to learn about yourself, to figure out your style, all of that. But that to me is the most important because that is the kind of thing that will really help you hit your stride.
yeah. This was really well rounded and thought about, Dana. So again, I can't thank you enough for doing this episode with us. I know it took an year, but finally we managed to do it,
It
right? So I'm
was
happy
worth
about
the wait for me, especially. I'm excited to
it's
be here. I'm glad we got
it's
to do it.
absolutely. So this was great, right? I again thank you on behalf of the entire team of Women of Community Banking podcast for doing this with us. I look forward to sharing more of your insights to the world.
Thanks for having
So
me.
absolutely, thank you.